Katie, I know that you played in a team from quite young, but you were the only girl in that team. In fact, the only girl in the league, I believe.
Yeah.
How much, when you look now, because you are an idol for so many young girls, when you look at that back all those years, how incredible of a feeling is that for you, looking back and thinking, I was the only girl in that league at that age?
Yeah, and what's so crazy is like, at the time it was so not normal. But for me, it just felt so normal. Like the lads, I'm still friends with a lot of them now, and they just treated me like a teammate, not, oh, it's a girl or a boy. It was almost always like the lads on my team always had my back. Like looking back now, I'm like horrified to what things people used to shout at me as like a 6, 7, 8-year-old girl. Like the parents would shout on like, come on, they've got a girl on the team. How's a girl beating you? And I'll be like looking at my dad like, why is this 35-year-old grown man like shouting at me from the side of the pitch? And like, I'm small now, but if you would have seen me when I was little, I was tiny. And like, no wonder that them views become so normal, because people's parents are shouting that from the side. The lads around me, the lads growing up playing against me was like, yeah, she is a girl. Like, why is she playing football? Like, the views are just passed down from generations, which is what I would like to try so hard to eradicate. And I think it's so refreshing for me that some of my friends like still come and watch me now. They message me, like, so a lot of them are good players, like went on to play in like academies and things like that. And for me, like, they always knew. And I see some of them like when I go back home and they're like, you were always better than us, Katie. And I'm like, it's nice that like the people that knew me and was around me are of the same view as I am, and hopefully they can pass that view on to the people around them.
Mm-hmm. Did it ever affect you, sort of hearing that, especially at such a young age as well? I think you're very impressionable, aren't you, at that age? And when you're a young kid and you're playing and you're hearing that from a grown man, and you're sort of taught, aren't you, to sort of respect your elders, and you listen to your parents and you listen to people that are sort of that age, and then you hear those comments, and did it ever sort of affect you, and did you ever sort of question playing football?
I look back now and I think no wonder so many girls stopped playing football. Like, no wonder the dropout rate between like 10 and 16 is so high, because so many people are telling you shouldn't be playing, why are girls playing, like the boys are so much better than you. Like, no wonder, like, people question like, oh, why is there less girls in sport? Well, because your dad's shouting at me, that's why there's less girls in sport. And I think for me, like, growing up around, like, you've met my dad, he's just like, say it how it is. And I think that's very much how I am now. And I'm quite thick-skinned to the point that probably made me stronger rather than brought me down. But like, yeah, I was the only girl in the league probably for a reason, because no one else wanted to be shouted at from the sideline every single week. And I think I was really lucky to be surrounded by so many people that were strong independent women, to be honest, that supported me. But not just the women, my dad, my uncle, my coach, and my teammates were like, some of my teammates, bless them, would be like, yeah, we have got a girl, like, yeah, and she's better than you. And like, I was the captain, so they were like, yeah, and she's the captain. And I thought, thanks, boys.
When I played football when I was like 10, the best player on my team was a girl called Jade. She was way better than everybody else. But when she reached 11, there was then nowhere for her to play. And so she just had to stop. And that was the end of her football career at the age of 11. How many options and avenues did you have? And how close did you get at any point around that age to thinking, well, there isn't much football for me to do?
I've probably got a really unique story in the fact I started playing for a boys team really young. So I was like 6, 7, 8 when I was playing with the lads. And at that point you couldn't go on, like when you hit a certain age, like you mentioned, you wasn't allowed to play with boys. And I don't know why, because half the girls were actually taller than the boys in the year. So like, I know that now they've increased the age limit, which is good, but I actually got invited to trials for Manchester United women, well, girls, the academy, at like 8 years old or something. They must have like, don't know why they was watching the league, because there was only me there. But they was like, oh, we wanted to come down. And I remember my dad said to me, like, Katie, we're going to play with the girls. And I was like, I'm not. I was like, I'm not going to play with the girls. I like playing with the boys. And I know that for so many people, that's like roles reverse. Like so many girls like didn't have anywhere to play and didn't have any opportunities. And I don't know what was wrong with me as a child, but I didn't want the opportunities. I was like, no, I'm going to stay here with my mates. Like, I enjoy playing with these. And my dad actually tricked me to go to Manchester United. I never tell anyone this. He tricked me to go in and was like, we'll go into we used to go to like the local field and just like kick the ball around together. And he was like, get your kit. I used to go in my full kit, you know, like sad people do. And then he was like, we're going like to the local field. And I remember thinking like, oh, this is quite a long drive, like a bit further than we normally would to the pitch. And then we turned up at the cliff and I was like, no way, I'm not getting out. And I sat in the car and I wouldn't get out. And he was like, we're going to be late, so you're getting out. Another thing about my dad is he likes to arrive early everywhere. Like, I'm not talking like punctual. I'm talking like you could get a flat tire, go for breakfast, fill your car up and you'd still be early. Like, it's mental. So we sat in the car for a little bit of me saying I didn't want to go. And then he finally persuaded me to get out the car. And I remember coming out and I was like, that was the best thing ever. Like, everyone's so much better. And I never looked back since, really. But I know for a lot of the girls and a lot of the people my age at the time that maybe wasn't fortunate enough to go to Manchester United, there wasn't any like girls teams around, and it was a point where do you go next? Like, there's no girls teams and you're not allowed to play with the boys, so what is the solution? And I think the issue was like no one was that bothered that there wasn't a solution until more recently they've started putting money into grassroots footballs for girls and things like that, which is so great to see.
Did you have any idols growing up?
It's really funny. People always ask me this question, and this is almost where I think it's quite like sad growing up that I didn't have any idols as female footballers because they just wasn't in the limelight. Like, I actually went to play for Liverpool when I left United at 17 and I didn't really know who anyone was. And like, I look back now and it was like Farrah Williams, Natasha Dowie, and I just didn't really know who it was because I'd never seen it on telly. Like, there wasn't household names or anything. And if someone's to say to me when I was little, like, who do you watch? I'll be like, oh, this men's player, like never once really a female player. And like, that's something I really like. It gets me a little bit emotional when I see like little girls or little boys as well in the stand with like Zelem on the back of the shirt. And I think how amazing that they can now see a pathway for them to become professional. Like, really off topic, but I'll never forget like when I finished sixth form, I'm actually smarter than I look. So I did A-levels, did my A-levels, got quite good grades. And like, it was the time where you have to like, I don't even know what it's called now, like a personal statement or something.
Yeah.
Like to get into university. And I was just a bit like, I don't want to write one of these. Like, I'm going to go and play football. And all my teachers was like, no, you need to write one. Like, football, you might not make it in football. Like, football's not a long career. Like, girls don't earn a lot playing football. And I was a bit like, you're not telling that to him sat over there, are you? Like, I don't see him writing a personal statement. So I like wrote one and everything, applied for university, but it was like, I'm going to play like professional football. Like, I'm not going to like balance university on like, or like go to university and be a part-time footballer. Like, I always knew what I wanted to do. And for me, like looking back, it was crazy how people was like, I was signed for Liverpool. I had a professional contract at this point, and they were still telling me that you need that. What university are you going to? Like, think about where you're going to go. And I was like, just fell into the system of like still applying and still doing it. And yeah, there's no harm in applying, and I'm a really big advocate for getting your education. But if you've got the chance there to become professional at something you've tried so hard, like, why are people trying to deter you so much?